This is one of those pieces of equipment that only gets used for a short time each year, maybe a month or two at most. It's easy to forget about until your yard is covered with leaves and suddenly you need it to work. So today I'm going to show you just a couple quick but very important things you can do to ensure that your Mow-N-Vac survives the whole season and keeps on working for years to come. Here in Minnesota, we don't always get a lot of time between the leaves finishing falling off and the snow starting to fall. So a lot of the times I'm left just shoving this in the corner and then having to move on to putting all my snow equipment onto my tractors. And a lot of times I forget to come back and just give this thing a nice cleanup and inspection to make sure that there's nothing wrong with it. So the first thing I like to do around, the beginning of September, or right when the leaves maybe start getting a little color to them, I like to just go around and make sure that everything is okay on the Mow-N-Vac. So I like to just lay out the hoses and make sure that there's no major holes in them. Here I have the standard hose for the Mow-N-Vac, and then I also have the optional handheld attachment hose. So I just go through and look at both of those and make sure there are no huge holes or tears or punctures in them that would affect the leaf cleanup ability of the hose. I do tend to run over a lot of sticks as I'm cleaning up my leaves, so there are a couple small punctures in the hose, but that doesn't affect the hose performance. But getting a new hose is something I will probably have to look into in the near future. And then I go around to the backside of the Mow-N-Vac and I just check out that the cover is still in good shape. I do have a lot of stuff sitting around that could have fallen onto the leaf vac as I move things around, and you never know what could happen. So I just make sure that everything is in good shape back here, that this cover doesn't have any cracks or holes in it. And then I just come around to the front and check out the chute, make sure that it's all good. It has this fabric canvas sort of area here, which allows for the dumping of the hopper. So I just make sure that there's no huge tears or holes in that as well. In this one, it's looking worn, but there's nothing getting out of it. I keep mine bungeed on so it doesn't leak because I don't use the dumping feature all that often. So I just make sure that that is looking good as well. And then we can come down to the impeller area. We want to take this cover off. That is just a 1/2-inch socket, and I like to use an impact because they are a type of lock nut, so they are a little hard to get off. And you do not want to end up spinning the whole bolt assembly while taking this off. And now that we have the nuts removed, we can just pull this cover off. And now we want to inspect the impeller. But first we should disconnect the spark plug, so if we turn this at all, it doesn't accidentally start on us. So now that that spark plug wire is disconnected, we can just go in and clean all the crap out of here, and then we can spin the impeller just to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. Make sure that it spins freely and that it's not contacting anything in the housing here. And then just inspect all the paddles on it, make sure that nothing is bent or cracked or missing. And this is all looking very good in here. You can stick your hand up in a little bit and just make sure there's nothing blocking any of the passage. Sometimes a stick could get jammed up in there and prevent the leaves from working their way through. So it's just good to inspect this all so you know you're not starting the season with any issues. Now I just spent a little bit of time off camera just chiseling out some of the old dried up grass and chunks of leaves in here with a screwdriver, just to help make sure that the impeller is still in balance. You don't want a chunk here and not here. It could be off balance and cause a vibration. So just clean it up a little bit, and now the adapter can go back on. And since we have the spark plug wire removed, it would be a great time to take the spark plug out and inspect it and replace it if need be. The spark plug uses a 5/8-inch spark plug socket to take out. And there is the spark plug. It looks actually pretty good. But I have owned this Mow-N-Vac for almost 10 years now, and I have never changed the spark plug, so I'm going to go ahead and change it this year. But that actually looks pretty good for 10 years. I just went with the Briggs & Stratton spark plug, which is actually a Champion RC12YC. And I believe the gap is 35 thousandths on these spark plugs. And I set this one to 32 thousandths. So it should be ready to go in. So we just seat it in our spark plug socket and it can go right in there. And with all spark plugs, I like to go all the way until the spark plug touches the cylinder head by hand, just to make sure there's nothing in the threads and make sure that it's not cross-threaded, of course. And just snug it. Last thing you want to do is break off the spark plug or strip the threads of the head. And then we can just reattach the spark plug wire. And now my next thing will be to change the oil, but of course it is best to change the oil when the oil is hot. So to ensure that we're okay running the engine, we'll just check the oil real fast. Make sure that it is, let me clean this off and put it in there again. Make sure that the oil is clean enough and that there's enough in there to run the motor. And it looks like there is plenty on there, and that's definitely clean enough to run it for a little bit, so we will be good there. Just gotta check and make sure there's some gas in here, which there is. I use non-oxy fuel in all my yard implement stuff, so I'm not too worried about the gas going bad in this. And real quick, before you start up the motor, make sure there's nothing around this intake for the impeller. There will be a lot of suction within about a foot of this area, so just make sure there's nothing around that's going to get sucked into that when you start up this motor. All right, there's a little switch back here. We'll switch to on. Make sure the gas is on also. That's on choke. Should be able to start it. Now I have started the motor and I let it run for a few minutes, so it is nice and warm now. So next we just have to drain the oil. There are two options to do that. There's a drain plug right there on the front of the motor. And then it's a little dark on this side, but there is another one on the back side. Of course, the one on the front side is a little bit more out in the open and a little easier to get to. Now, of course, you could just stick a drain pan underneath here, open that up, and just let it drain wherever it drains and just try and catch it all. But I like to try and keep it a little bit cleaner, so I have a flexible funnel that I have kind of already formed to sit down in this area. And then what I like to do is take a little bit of tin foil. You can just fold up the back edge, and that kind of gives it a lip to go underneath the motor just a little bit. That lip will sort of prevent the oil from getting back underneath the engine, and then you can just overlap the flexible funnel. The drain plug is a little bit too close to the bracket here to get the funnel up under there completely. So I found that this is the best way to get the most oil into the pan with the least amount of mess. The drain plug is just a 10 millimeter. And there you go. It's going to get a little bit of oil where you don't want it, but for the most part, it keeps it mostly clean. Whoop. And then if you move it and knock it all down, it doesn't matter, and you just get everything all full of oil anyway. So I tried. It's dripping down the back a little bit, so I had to move the oil pan and I just messed it all up. I believe that the oil change interval is 25 hours on this engine, but I could be mistaken. I just change it every season regardless of hours. This engine sits long enough that it should be changed every year anyway. But looks like it's pretty much done draining, so we'll go ahead and put the drain plug back in. And I'll go ahead and clean up my giant mess that I tried not making. So it's easier to drain the oil from the front, but it's actually easier to fill the oil from back here because it's not under the exhaust. So we can just go ahead and take that plug out. And the oil that I'm using, I tend to go with the manufacturer of the engine's oil if I can. So I'm going with a synthetic 5W30. According to this chart, that is the best for all-around use, and it can get cold or hot while I am picking up leaves here. So I like to use the oil with the best temperature range. And I have this nice flexible funnel to get into that area. The capacity of this engine is 16 to 20 ounces, so you'll want to fill it to 16 and then check it and then add a little bit if need be. That's 16 ounces right there. Now to check the oil, you just want to place the dipstick into the hole. Do not turn or tighten it at all, and then you can pull it back out and then check it, and that is right about where we want it. Probably go maybe another ounce or two. I'm just going to do one more ounce in it. Actually, I can see the oil level is right up to the threads there, so I'm just going to leave it where it's at. Now, the oil change is complete. And now that the oil is changed, this engine is going to run so much more smoothly. And speaking of that, my channel runs so much more smoothly when you guys hit that like button and subscribe. So if you could please do that for me now, that would be awesome. And now it's time to move on to this air filter. And so just to do the air filter is pretty simple. We can just go ahead and remove that nut on top, and then it's just this wing nut here. And then it comes right off, and then just make sure sometimes this gasket sticks to the bottom of the filter, so make sure that that stays there. And now if yours is pretty clean, like mine is a little dusty, but it looks like it's in pretty decent shape. It'd probably just be cleaned up and reused, but I do have a new one on hand, so I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that on. Wing nut first. I'll have links to all the products that I use in this video down in the description, of course. And then you don't need to tighten this a ton, but you want to get it pretty snug because you want a good seal on that gasket under there. And that's all it takes for that air filter. But I do want to show you quick how to wash this pre-filter if you want to reuse it. If you do want to clean up this pre-filter, you can just get any sort of container that will hold enough water to submerge this. And then I just put warm water with some dish soap in there. And then you can just go ahead and just clean it up in that water and make a mess just like I always do. And you can see maybe how dirty that water is. And then we'll just go ahead and rinse this out with some fresh water. And just like that, all rinsed off and clean. You can just take a towel and dry it off a little bit if you want. And then that will just have to sit for a couple hours to dry out before you put it on and start the motor. And now we can come back to the tires here and make sure that they are properly inflated. The max PSI for these tires is 30 PSI. And it looks like we're sitting about 11. So we'll fill that up. And I actually went a little bit high, which allows me to show you this awesome Jayco tire inflator that I have. I always promote this thing. It's one of my favorite tools. Of course, the link will be in the description below, but if you overfill your tire at all, it's got this button on the side. You can just let a couple PSI out and you're good to go. And also it clips on to the valve, so very easy to use. I really like this tire inflator, but that should be good. And then while we're down here at the axle, there is a grease zerk right on the hub here. So clean that up. And then we can use another awesome tool, this lock and lube grease gun. One of the nicest grease guns I've ever used also. I like things that lock on and I don't have to worry about having to use two hands to fiddle around with this and pump. And so very cool. But yeah, we can just go ahead and grease up this axle. Actually needed quite a bit of grease. All right, now we're starting to get firm, so that should be loaded up there. And now all I have to do is go over and do this exact same thing on the other side, and this Mow-N-Vac is going to be ready for action once the leaves start falling. And if you want to see how I connect this to my John Deere 318 using the John Deere PowerFlow system, then you'll want to watch this video right here. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you don't want to miss any more content of mine, then please subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.